don't know. History will tell us whether we'll have another Frundi. It's not easy. It's not easy. He was a very charismatic person. When you talk to Frundi, you couldn't even tell that he was in the opposition. But you knew that he was a very important political figure.
Reverend 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗓𝗟𝗟𝗓 is gone. Can we say that it's a big loss?
Most definitely, Mr. Clarkson, the loss of I should say, the man who made history when we talk about democracy in Cameroon, when we're talking about the loss of the man who succeeded to write his name in the sands of time. We're talking about Frundi, and that is a name that will forever remain engraved in the history of Cameroon for as long as Cameroon will exist, because he succeeded to totally change the dynamics of the political landscape in Cameroon, being able to move the state from a one-party system to a multi-party system. Every other political party owes that to Frundi. Today, every other political leader, every other politician owes that to him, because in my opinion, and as facts have it, if it were not for his bravery, if it were not for his determination and his long-sightedness, we may have not been enjoying the privilege of expressing political opinion, divergent political opinions today. This is one thing that, if everyone should not agree with lots of things about Frundi, I think everyone will agree that he took up the baton of command and he went ahead to set this platform for us. He became a hero. He became a hero as early as the 1990s, and he remained a hero even till death. His demise is a blow to the political face of Cameroon and to Cameroon as a nation, because he had proven that he's a true son of Cameroon.
A true son of the soil, eh?
Yes.
A true son of the soil, John Frundi. The Prof described him as a charismatic leader. What can we say are some of the successes and failures of John Frundi?
I think that history will remember that he was able to create a party, the Social Democratic Front, and in spite of all the difficulties, the Social Democratic Front stood tall. Because, you know, at the beginning they had many parliamentarians in the National Assembly, and years after years, the number of parliamentarians from the Social Democratic Front decreased. But in spite of all these difficulties, Frundi was able to maintain the Social Democratic Front as one of the main political parties in the opposition, if not the main opposition party in Cameroon. So that's certainly one of the things that people will remember about him. Okay, and we can also say that we cannot talk about democracy if we have a one-party system. Okay, but the birth of the Social Democratic Front made it possible to know that in Cameroon, apart from the ruling CPDM party, there are also opposition parties like the Social Democratic Front, the UPC, and so on and so forth. But certainly, I think that most people will remember Frundi as the main opposition leader in Cameroon. There is no question about it.
The main opposition leader. So the opposition leaders we have today are not opposition leaders?
No, I said the main opposition leader. It means that there are opposition leaders. But now, very few of them can compete with John Frundi.
What is the difference?
Frundi has a stand in history. He has a stand in history, okay? Because the birth of the Social Democratic Front was a huge event in Cameroon, okay? Yes.
So the seat of May 1990, the SDF was born.
And there has not been any other opposition party that has had so many parliamentarians in the National Assembly,
like
the Social Democratic Front. That's why I say that Frundi will be remembered as one of the main opposition leaders in Cameroon.
Okay. The time for us to welcome, of course, Prince 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟𝗟. Prince Will, we say good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. 𝗏𝗣𝗕𝗟𝗟𝗓. Good evening to Prof. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Television. It is really an honor for me to be here this evening, especially when we have very interesting topics, and especially topics that concern issues of the Social Democracy Fund, not only the Social Democracy, but most importantly, we talk about 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗓𝗓, the chairman of Social Democracy Fund, that one person who has been the bedrock, has been part of the history. When we talk today about democracy in Cameroon, when we talk about multipartyism, when we talk about freedom of speech, liberty, we think 𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗓 had contributed a lot during his time over the years when he has been into politics. So if we have to still continue that, then we should be very, very keen on looking at one. We should be looking at what he has done, his successes, his achievements. It's true that
it's true that maybe we are having some technical issues with the mic of Prince Will. The time for our technicians to actually work on that. Yes, Reverend 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗟𝗓𝗓, tell us, charismatic leader was 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗟𝗓𝗓. 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗟𝗓𝗓 is gone today. What can we say were the successes or are the successes of 𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏?
I want to look at one aspect which I would term a success: his political approach, the way he practiced or played politics. Like,
let's put the team on the screen, please.
The way he practiced or played politics, like many people will call it. He was this opposition leader who understood that having a different political view doesn't make you an enemy to your opponent. There were moments where we saw him with leaders of different political parties, with members of different political parties, with the chairman of the CPDM. He was just there with the people, interacting, exchanging divergent views, but in an amicable way, in a friendly way. This is, to me, it's a success because it's something that many other politicians have not succeeded to date to do. They've not understood that having a contrary political view doesn't necessarily mean that this person before you as a human is an enemy. You just have divergent opinion and you can still collaborate, you can still dialogue. And I think it's from this perspective of his that he believed that if there are issues, if there are divergences, the best way to go about it is to dialogue. Yes, and from this angle, he did what he could. He was quite successful in maintaining people off the streets for some time. He was quite successful in influencing the popular opinion about rioting, going out on the streets. He looked for more diplomatic ways. He was really a diplomat. He looked for more diplomatic ways to approach states matters, to approach situations that were peculiar and particular to his militants, to his English-speaking brothers, and to Cameroonians as a whole. That was a really successful thing that he was able to do for a good number of years.
Is the mic of Prince Will okay? If the mic of Prince Will is okay, Prince Will, we are talking 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗟𝗓𝗓, the successes of the politician that he was.
Yeah, thank you very much again, Mr. Tabi. Of course, like I was introducing, saying that, talking about 𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, this is a figure which, when talking about, we need to put a lot of respect, because this is one of those people who, the history books of Cameroon can never be written without him being emphasized at a particular point in time. We talk about 𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, the one who actually prompted, necessitated, push today to what we enjoy as multipartyism, what we enjoy today as freedom of liberty, I want to say Ni John Fundi contributed a lot. It's true, I'm one of the early 1990s, but before, what we've read before that, what our parents told us before that, what we've actually seen in our own time with what concerns Ni John Fundi, I want to say at this point when we want to look at Ni John Fundi, the father, Ni John Fundi the politician, Ni John Fundi the opposition political party. We should make a difference between the politician and main opposition political party leader. We need to look at Ni John Fundi as a peace crusader as well. So this is one person whom today Cameroon is it's unfortunate that people have to come and at a point in time we have to go, but it is a very big loss for Cameroon because if you look at the early 1990s with the revolutionary change, the wind blow to multi-partyism, before 1990 you realized at that time Cameroon was still on a one-party system after coming out from that from one-party system, and when Ni John Fundi actually had to push break out from, because remember he was a member of the CPDM, and when he actually break out and decided to form, because of frustration, one or two things, and they decide, a whole lot of them decided to form the Social Democracy Fund. At the time of signatory, most people were very, very reluctant of going, but he had that conviction that no, he wants to push in for change, and he went through and legalized the SDF, and we saw with the 1992 with the 1992 elections. And the outcome of it, that's why I look at Ni John Fundi as the peace crusader, because as most people, proponents have always put it out there, and myself, what I've read and what I've seen about him, 1992, if Ni John Fundi was not a peace crusader, was not a peace crusader, I think Cameroon would have not been where it is today. I think that the blood that would have been shed at that time, like what we see with other African countries, would have been so worse.
Okay.
2016 is another example with the Amazonian crisis, Anglophone crisis. Ni John Fundi stood his grounds and said, no, I am a man for peace, I will not join this thing. And like Ni John Fundi, with the major national dialogue, he stood his conviction and said, so this is one emblematic Cameroonian leader that Cameroon will always live to, never to forget about him. Ni John Fundi, as like I was saying some minutes ago, is one of those Cameroon politicians who understood politics not to be war, who understood politics not to be a blood battle where it is a do or die something for you to be there. Ni John Fundi is someone who understood at a particular point in time that with politics you have to democratize politics. You have to listen to the other person, and with politics it is not a problem to actually dine with your opposition, but it's a matter of you can convince and look for lasting solutions to that.
Okay.
Ni John Fundi
A peace crusader, Ni John Fundi.
Ni John Fundi on the other side, you look at at the level of the SDF.
We are coming to that. We are coming to that.
We should be looking at those things.
We are coming to that, especially as we are talking Fundi, the peace crusader. You just made mention of the Anglophone crisis. Prof, some are saying that one of the failures of the SDF, of Ni John Fundi, is that today, we used to have many parliamentarians. The SDF used to have many parliamentarians in the House of Assembly, but today is not longer the case. Today we have internal squabbles, internal problems within the ranks of the SDF. Ninche, Joshua Osi, some members or militants of that party have been sent out by Article 8(2). Can we say that was a failure on the part of the John Fundi?
No, let me remind people that the SDF party had more than 20 parliamentarians in parliament in the 90s. More than 20, close to 30. And one of the reasons why they don't have many parliamentarians, first of all, we have the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and in the southwest. So it was very, very difficult to conduct any campaign. And I know, for instance, that Owudu-Mbaya said that he will not stand again because he didn't want to compete for the parliamentarian seat over the blood of his brothers. That's what he said. And therefore, the Social Democratic Front lost a lot of parliamentarians
due to the Anglophone crisis that started in
2016.
2016. Okay. But now, you see, that cannot solely be attributed to the Social Democratic Front. Okay? Because when there is no peace, it's very difficult to do anything. Economic activities, political activities, and so on and so forth, they have all suffered due to this crisis. Now, Frundi is leaving us at a time when there are so many problems in the Social Democratic Front. Okay, you have factions of the party. You have maybe a faction that is led by Nietzsche, a parliamentarian from the West region. And then you have a faction that is led by Joshua Oshie, a parliamentarian from the Southwest. Okay. Now, I don't know if that can be, it can be said that it is John Frundi's failure. Okay. Political parties sometimes have a lot of problems. Okay, and especially when they are not in the winning side. Okay, when everything was doing fine, everything was going fine, we didn't see all these battles, right? Because the SDF had a lot of parliamentarians in the National Assembly. SDF was doing well. Okay, all of a sudden, when the party has very few parliamentarians in the National Assembly and very few in the Senate, you see all these problems. It's a leadership problem, you know. It's a leadership problem, and in all parties you have a leadership problem. But
even the CPTM,
what you
even the CPTM, Prof.
There are problems everywhere, but in the CPDM, as long as President Paul Biya is standing strong, you know, it's very difficult to see people who can challenge him. All right? I have the feeling that some people felt that Frundi was going away, and therefore they had to fight for the president of the chairman's seat. Okay, they had to fight for the chairman's seat, and these problems they were not there when there was no evidence that Frundi was going to leave. There was no evidence that Frundi was going to leave. But now, will be important to find out whether the Social Democratic Front will survive John Frundi. That's the question that we can ask. But I say that it's very premature to talk about it because we have not yet buried John Frundi.
It's true that in the 1990s, Prof.
I think that right now what we can do is say that
in the 1990s, Prof. Permit me.
Yes.
In the 1990s, we saw how the SDF was booming everywhere.
Yes.
Suddenly, things change. Can we say Frundi is responsible for that?
No. I just talked about the history of the Social Democratic Front, and I told you that when things are going well, all right, you don't see the infightings. Okay, it's when things are not going well that you see ambitions, you know, rising up and so on and so forth. Okay. So, I mean, it is difficult to say that Frundi is responsible for what is happening to the Social Democratic Front now.
Okay.
Because for some time, we have known that Frundi was saying that it was not going to stand
for any election again.
For an election inside the SDF. Okay? That could have prompted or that could have encouraged some people to think that they could replace him.
Okay. Yes, Ka, tell us, Nijon Frundi, the failures of Nijon, the fact that the SDF was booming in the 1990s, and today the SDF is no longer the SDF that we used to know. Failure to Frundi?
Mr. Clarkson, we all agree, right, that 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏 has made a name. But to every successful story, there is some shady side. There is something that might not have just gone well. And I really do think, like a good number of other Cameroonians, I guess, and even maybe militants of the Social Democratic Front, that the chairman, he missed his steps along the way and he slipped off the path, because in as much as he was a man who practiced politics in a very civilized and democratic way, but there was a little problem, there was a cliche somewhere with his leadership style. Being the chairman of the party for 3 decades and more, a party that is supposed to be grooming potential leaders, everyone should have their term, their round of leadership. And I heard Prof make mention that as long as Paul Biya is standing strong, no one can think of replacing him. This is to me, this is a problem that we need to tackle, not just looking at the SDF, but as a Cameroonian people in particular. A party is not supposed to be a person. A party is supposed to be a group of people representing a political idea. At one point, the SDF did not just remain at the level of the Social Democratic Front. The SDF became 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏. And that is why people are asking questions today, will the SDF survive? Yes, it's true that this is still very early to give an answer to such a question, but this accounts to a failure at the level of leadership.
Can we say this division in the SDF is a failure to 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏?
Mr. Clarkson, nobody should be fighting for the seat of a chairman, because the chairman or the president of whatever name we want to call it, you should systematically be ready and willing to delegate that position of leadership to some other person, because experience has proven that there is the echelon of success. There is a starting point, there is a climax, and there must be a dropping point. No matter how charismatic and diplomatic and powerful you can be as a leader, in 30 years and more of leadership, you can no longer be as efficient as you were when you had just started your leadership career. There will be weaknesses, there will be things that you will not analyze, because times do change, things do come, new things come, and we are always just, the human nature is such that we must always be ready to accept change. And when we talk about the division in the SDF now and all, it is a leadership problem. Because I will not agree with this analogy that as long as things were going on well, there was no problem. But when things started going sour, problems came up. Because things are fine, because things are quiet, does not necessarily mean that everything is going on well. There is always just a need for a spark. There is always just a need for something to let loose. There is no way people could have been in the SDF for over 33 years and they were not thinking that I could also be a president, I could also be the chairman, I could be thinking of these things differently, because I see the vision, I carry the same vision as the founder, but then I think if we implement it this way, it could be successful. And that is regardless of the fact that 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏 started the SDF. He doesn't have the monopoly of knowledge. He needed people who could do certain things, but could only do it if they had the position of the chairman. So he failed. He really did fail at this level of the leadership. He managed it well from the start, but he got to his falling points, and he had just needed to give it to someone else.
The time for us to welcome equally Mba Raoul, Mba of the CRM. We say good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Sir 𝗵𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗧𝗏. Good evening to the fellow panelists. Special greetings to the millions and televiewers watching this prestigious program. Happy to have me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for us to have you. 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏𝗏, successes and failures of the politician that he was.
Actually, 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗟𝗏𝗏 left a mark, and which us, the upcoming politicians, and we must acknowledge that, because if one of the someone that we considered so charismatic, at least we should be able to appreciate the fact that freedom and democracy in Cameroon, he championed it. And if despite the fact that maybe not actually had that opportunity to govern or to take over the presidency of this country does not necessarily mean that maybe we should attribute him to a failure. Because when you look on leadership is not about position. Because sometimes we upcoming politicians, we believe that for somebody to be successful means that that person must hold certain positions within a rank. If you master leadership is about services, and we saw the services and saw how impactful it is to our modern politics as in context to Cameroon. 𝗵𝗡 𝗠ndɪ has played a wonderful role, and where he left in struggling, in achieving, we must continue from that position. So for me, he has done a great things to our democracy in Cameroon. This democracy should not only be seen in the context of winning an election or in the context of being the president of the country, but certain part. If today, because the context is, if we are looking in 𝗵𝗡 𝗠ndɪ today, most of us only look at 𝗵𝗡 𝗠ndɪ in the political concept, but we don't know that his political concept equally favor economic factors. It equally favor the finance process in our country. So sometimes we should not also like give credit or to say somebody is successful only when that person becomes either a president of the country. And this concept, if we can wipe that, it will help to straighten our politics in Cameroon. Don't think that maybe you have to belong or you have to become a successful or reach at a certain position before you know that you have done it. At your little corner, do something that you know that it can help. And I believe that is why we within the CRM, we have acknowledged that he paved the way. If some of us are taking that initiative in struggling from where he left, we come together, and that is why we acknowledge that, and we took it upon ourselves to say, all right, this man has been doing a lot. We decided to even have a coalition with the SDF in revising the electoral code. I think that is a part, because if we thought that politics is all about divide and rule, we should not come together and see how we can help to remove Cameroonians from this bondage. It will not pave that way for us to come together. So I think that he has done a great things.
He has done great things, and of course, many Cameroonians will remember him.
I am not in any way to come and start condemning 𝗵𝗡 𝗠ndɪ that maybe there was a failure. I think some people also should come and try and do something that tomorrow maybe they could also give an acknowledgement on that. Thank you, Sir Tabby Clarkson.
Okay, the time for us to have this report before we come to Prince Will. Can we have the report where we are saying that Paul Biya and 𝗵𝗡 𝗠ndɪ, they were not the best of friends, but at least let's see them together, Biya and 𝗠ndɪ, in this report.
No one will ever deny the fact that 𝗠ndɪ has for decades been the #1 opposition leader to President Paul Biya. Created in Bamenda on May 26, 1990, just like the 𝗵𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗡 party created 5 years before in Bamenda on the 24th of March, 1985. 𝗠ndɪ has always been that person whose main mission was to kick out Mr. Biya from the 𝗵𝗘𝗣𝗒 palace. At one point, SDF was referred to as Paul Biya must go. Despite this political stand of Biya must go, 𝗠ndɪ for several years in no way jeopardized the peace and unity of this country. This for sure is the reason why on the 10th of December 2010, for the very first time after close to 20 years of saying Biya must go, that President Biya granted audience to Pa 𝗠ndɪ in Bamenda during the 50th anniversary of the military. Politics can be a dirty game, but it's not enmity. When 𝗠ndɪ lost the wife in 25, President Paul Biya sent a condolence message, and a representative of his 𝗵𝗘𝗣𝗒 party was also dispatched to Bamenda to condole with Pa 𝗠ndɪ. 𝗠ndɪ and Paul Biya were not the best of friends, but at least have something in common, that of the love of nationhood. Preserving a country void of conflict, preserving this unity in diversity, this Cameroon that we all love and cherish, to the fullest. Just like Paul Biya, Frunze said no to secession. Just like Paul Biya, Frunze said no to destruction in 1992 after the results of the presidential election were proclaimed. Just like Paul Biya, Frunze was for a united and indivisible Cameroon. President Biya is not only giving to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, but is also acknowledging the fact that the political story of Cameroon is incomplete without the name Frunze from 1990 to 2023. Frunze really never accepted some SDF bigwigs to be made government ministers by President Biya, but finally a senator was recently appointed within the ranks of the Social Democratic Front. Whatever be the case, just like Paul Biya, Frunze was a peaceful man.
Yes, we are talking Frunze Biya. One moment we saw them together in 2010 in other circumstances. Frunze was coming to 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟𝗟 at the 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗕 Palace for New Year witches and so on and so forth. Can we say that they were not the best of friends, but at least they were peaceful or peace crusaders?
You know, Mr. Tabi, the evolution of time has actually proven that politics is a game of, like, with the style of the chairman 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗕𝗟𝗟, with the development of time, he came to understand something, because he talked about 2010, he tried to meet, but he started since 2007 to ask to, he asked to meet Mr. Biya, the president of Cameroon at that time. Maybe we'll have to go back from 1990, where multipartyism was launched, 1992 with the presidential election, and you realize that from 1992, during the presidential election, he won 36% of the vote, which the election was somehow contested, and he was claiming to be the one who actually won the election at that time. And with Bello Buba coming behind him, and as time evolved, we realized in 2004 he was seen 1994 he was seen with Bill Clinton and the wife during the presidential inauguration in United States, which went somehow to prove that to show to the international community how his backup would have been. But that did not withstand. We went forward to look at 1997 with the presidential election, where 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗠𝗎 decided to boycott the election. He did not decide to boycott the election because the election was there, but because he had claimed that he had won the presidential election in 1992. That did not only leave him at that level, but look at 2004 presidential election. He went, because 1992 he was, it was said as per the official results that he was the second. And we realized that in 2004, the results still came out that he was the second. But this time around, he was not the second with 29 or 30% vote, but he came second with 17% or 17.40% of the vote of the election. We move on to 2007 presidential election, where for a parliamentary election, how we realized from 1992 to 2007, how his seats in the parliament had reduced. By 2007, he had just 16 seats in the parliament. You see how drastically over the time the political atmosphere of Cameroon has pushed him to shift from one political reasoning or school of thought to another political school of thought. So at this point in time, you realize that the maturity and the understanding of the political terrain in Cameroon had somehow played with his initial policies, with his initial standpoint of view, and with his initial political ideas. And so when you get to 2007, he at that point in time, after the parliamentary election, had started petitioning and talking over TV stations how he would have loved to meet with Mr. Biya, how he had wished to meet with Mr. Biya.
And finally he met with him.
And finally
he met with
Mr. Biya.
Yeah.
And from the time he met with Mr. Biya, Cameroonians saw a different type of Frunze. They saw a Frunze who was more collaborative, who was no longer power to the people as he used to be, who was no longer Biya must go, who was no longer suffer don't finish. There was a Frunze who was more consecutive, a Frunze who understood politics from a different perspective. And from 2010, we realized the different and the standing in the changes in the stance of 𝗵𝗔𝗡𝗎𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. Now, it did not just end at that level, but when you look at how his political party had evolved at the level of leadership, especially with when we're talking, we have to be clear. With the coming of, with Nietzsche coming at a particular helm or at a particular standpoint of view or at a particular rulership position in the party where he had a lot also at stake to talk, just like Honorable Joshua Osing was, had that same type of position, but with other political parties also coming within the political scene of the country, which also had some sort of rivalry with the SDF. Now, it became very cumbersome for the ruling political party, the CPDM, to play the political role or to play within the political terrain as they used to play. So there were a lot of hanky-panky rules that were being played. You don't know who was trying to play against who to play against who. And with these political parties and the next presidential election that came up with 2008, in 2018, we saw a different type of divergence, a different type of SDF standpoint of view with these other political parties.
We are talking the SDF, yes, Prof. Belowa. We are talking Ниџьон Frunze and President Paul Biya. At one point, militants of the SDF or some Cameroonians were accusing Frunze for collaborating with the president of the Republic. Can we say this has equally helped in making the SDF to what the SDF is today in terms of percentages in presidential and other elections?
No, first of all, I don't think that the fact that Frunze met with President Biya a number of times has contributed in making the Social Democratic Front less popular. Okay? And I told you that part of the reasons why there are few SDF parliamentarians in the Assembly and in the Senate is the Anglophone crisis. Is the Anglophone crisis, okay? Because I believe that if there was not that crisis, the SDF would have had more parliamentarians in the Senate. Because of this crisis, it was very difficult to conduct any campaign.
But can we say it was a good thing for Ниџььон Frunze to have met Mr. Biya on several
occasions? It's a very good thing because I am sure that he was able to tell President Paul Biya the kind of difficulties that opposition parties were facing in the field. Okay? It is a good thing that leaders of the country be able to meet. Frunze being the main opposition leader, and Paul Biya being the president of the state, it was a good thing that they met so as to discuss matters related to the running of the country. So it's a very good thing. And we have already said that Frunze was a very good patriot. He was a patriot. He did not encourage his militants to go to the street. He did not tell them that they could force Paul Biya out of the office.
Paul Biya is describing him
just by demonstrating in the street.
Paul Biya is describing Frunze as un patriote engagé.
Yes, yes, a committed patriot. Yes, and everybody agrees on that. He was a committed patriot. At no point during his political life did he think about taking power by force. Okay? At no point during his political life did he encourage people to go to the street. Okay?
Like other politicians are doing today.
Like other politicians are doing today. So, Frunze was a peaceful man. He didn't want Cameroon to go out of hand. Okay? That is why we say that he was a very good patriot. But you have to see Frunze before 2018 said he will no longer run. Okay? For the presidency of the Republic seat. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And then the SDF party decided to choose Joshua Osih as the
flag bearer. Yeah?
The flag bearer of the party at the presidential election. And the results were such that the SDF moved far. Okay? And the front seat was taken by the RMC, the CRM. Okay? The front seat was taken by the CRM. So, I believe, and it's a personal belief.
Yeah.
It's a personal belief.
You believe?
I believe that Frunze being so popular, it was very difficult for Joshua Osih to replace Frunze. Okay? And that is why the SDA party moved behind in the presidential election. The challenge now for those who are still in the SDA party is going to be to maintain the SDA party alive. Okay, now that Frundi is dead. It's not going to be easy. Okay, so the SDA party needs a flag bearer. Okay?
You think Joshua Osei is not up to the...
I don't think anything. I don't think anything because I'm just reflecting. I'm thinking as a Cameroonian.
Yeah, you are thinking aloud.
I'm thinking as a Cameroonian that it is not going to be easy
to replace Frundi.
To replace Nijon Frundi. Because Nijon Frundi was a charismatic leader. Okay? It was extremely popular among the SDF militants. So the question is, who is going to take his seat? Who is going to take the chairman's seat?
If you have an advice to give,
can the man who is going to take the chairman's seat
do you have an advice to give?
As popular as Nijon Frundi?
Do you have an advice to give?
What will I give him an advice? I'm not an SDF militant.
Okay. Thanks for that, Prof. Yes, this relation, Frundi, Biya, can we say it helped to in dropping the standards of the SDF?
The relationship between Chairman Nijon Frundi and Mr. Paul Biya, it contributed to an extent in dropping the charisma or the value of the SDF in the eyes of the people, because there was and there is a level of skepticism as in whether he was meeting with the head of state in the capacity of head of state as just statesmen meeting, or if he was meeting with the chairman of another party. That is a question which I cannot answer. But I think that this is the questions that went through the minds of the people, as in which capacity was he meeting the head of state? Was he meeting the head of state, or was he meeting the chairman of the CPDM party? Now, before we go, well, I think it was a good move though, because typically, in my opinion, political opinion holders should not be enemies. I would say this over and over again. That is why we will keep talking and preaching the idea of coalition and understanding. That is why we will keep saying that the best way to go about divergent ideas is to talk about them. And there is no way you can talk about your divergent opinions if you're not meeting with the person who has this contrary view to what you think, which is something that Nijon Frundi used to do, and which was a good thing, in my opinion. Now, I would love for us to do a little correction on something that my co-panelist said. We are not condemning Nijon Frundi. You know, we're talking and people are listening and watching us. We're not condemning him. It is rather very necessary for us to do this kind of analysis, because as fellow politicians, as citizens of Cameroon, we need to know what were the strengths so that they can be emulated, and we need to know what were the weaknesses so that they can be avoided or corrected if possible. It's not about, there is no perfect human being, you know.
Of course.
And it's not about condemning anybody. So typically, Nijon Frundi, in his leadership style, he met with people of the CRM, PAP, he met with different political opinion leaders of different political parties. It could have been perceived as a problem by some people, but it was a good approach, especially when you identify that these political parties are social democrats like myself. It is but normal that you should meet and talk about these things that you have in common, see how you could get things running together, talk about the divergencies you have, and see where you could come to a compromise, which was a good thing which he did, I think.
Mbaraoul? Frundi Biya, the relationship?
Actually, Mr. 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟𝗟, I believe that as communicant, one of our main objectives is, first of all, put like the national unity. we strive first for national unity. And when we talk about national unity, we are making sure that insofar as we disagree, but let us maintain that status of respecting our country and be conscious of the fact that we are all Cameroonians. And with that, for me, I don't see any problem with Frunze meeting with Bia. There is no problem. It can, and first of all, permit me to say, we within the CRM, there is a circular within us that we don't have right to interfere into the internal affair of another political party. It only comes in cognizance when that political party has or take over and the country, which is now the responsibility of opposition party to check. But if that party is not here in power, we don't have any right. But because of the death of Frunze, which even our national president came out with message to the family and equally to militants. So we decided that no, it is important for us to chip in our own contribution to this. I think that there are criterions as for us to determine the success and failure of political party. We don't just say it on what basis. I keep on saying, for you to determine the success of a political party or a political, we do demarcation. If, for example, you are a militant of a political party within your own constituency, you ask yourself, how many militants are there that you have brought into your party within that constituency? It's not all about sitting on TV, you believe that maybe you are already a successful politician. We have membership card. I think that if we are to judge SDF that it was a failure, you don't know if actually, no, I'm coming back. I am coming back. Mr.
Frunze, please. Let's come back.
In aspect to success, failure, it's all in direction to the subtitle of Bia Frunze. If it actually leads to the success or failure, that is
without the whole day.
That is why I am on the point to make it very clear that I am not a militant of the SDF political party to determine if SDF is making success, because at the end we can be talking like that. We don't know what is on the ground. We don't know number of militants that they are recruiting on daily basis, because success cannot only be determined maybe because you have.
Do you think the prof who is talking is the prof a militant of the SDF?
No, we can analyze, but we should not judge.
Even Prince is not
we should not the SDF.
Yeah, we are talking to Frunze. We are talking to Frunze here. The successes and failures of a man.
Madam, when we talk about 𝗔𝗔𝗕𝗔𝗟, even on the subtitle, the 𝗔𝗔𝗕𝗔/SDF success and failure, it's there even on the screen. So we must be able to clear the meeting of 𝗔𝗔𝗕𝗔𝗟 with President Bia is not a problem, and I think that other political parties have been meeting.
Even your leader, it's true that your leader has not yet officially met with her.
That my leader was there. Did you see my leader at the prayer, or you saw his car there?
That's why I'm saying that.
No, we should not authoritatively give words that even you are a journalist. If you have the right to go and meet my leader, and he came out with a communique clear that apart from being the Unity Palace is a public office.
That's what we are saying.
For everybody. You have your issues to go there, but if you are a militant for us, you don't go and meet a person in the name of a party, which that one, and even being a militant, first of all, you carry. Anyway,
it's not a bad thing for Frunze to have. It was not a bad thing.
So we should not even judge, because unity, if we preach unity, we should not be
unity in diversity.
We're not judging.
Okay. What's bad to meet him? Is there a problem on that?
It's not an argument between and yes, please, I'm the one giving the floor here. Please, I'm the one giving the floor.
Yes. Here, just to conclude, I want to ask that even on the meeting day that President Bia met with Frunze, I think the only official day was during the celebration of the 50th anniversary of Bamenda.
Thank you.
It's very normal that you should welcome him as a main opposition party. So there's no problem.
Thank you. Yes, please, we wanted to react to Wiley.
Yes, I want to react concerning if their meeting has been some sort of contribution to maybe the setbacks that the SDF has been witnessing over some time, and which to that I want to tell you, it may have played a particular role to a particular level, and it may not have played to a particular level. But we have to understand, looking into the mindset of the community where we live in. You know, when we look at this, we need to look at, it takes me back to my time in the university, where I used to have a very brilliant professor of blessed memory, Professor 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟𝗟𝗓. He taught us sociology. And he taught you to reason by looking at the society where you find yourself, and how the people do react to aspects that come before them. We live in a society in Cameroon where people don't support an ideology of a particular party, but they do follow party, most often a person's personality. And if you look at the time of the 1990s, with the revolutionary, the wind blowing at that time, most people were more occupied with the charisma that 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏 carried around with him before following his ideology of suffer, don't finish. At that point in time, you realize that as time evolved, people were looking at 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏 as the person who is heading them up, and not the ideology, which as it constantly evolved as per the time evolved within the party. You know, the stance of the SDF from 1992 was not the stance of the SDF in 2018 presidential election. The stance of the SDF in 2018 is not, I don't think it was the same stand by 2022, 2023, at the time when 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏 went to rest with the Father. So, it may have influenced it at a point in time, because by 2018, or let's go back to 2004, before going back to 2011 presidential election and 2018. Look at 2004 presidential election. At that time, 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏 was still galvanizing, but how many seats did he? How many percent did he have as per the 1992 elections? 1992, he left from 36 to, I think, was 17% in 2004. And as you evolve, you realize that the popularity keep dropping. It did not, and when you got to 2010, at that point where there was some sort of contact between him and Mr. Biya, and remember, we just crossed past 2008, which there was a national strike. And after that national strike, 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏 had a lot of positions which were different from some political parties' positions. He called on President Paul Biya to look to declare national mourning. There was a lot of things that he asked of President Paul Biya. And at that point in time, when he started that interaction, and 2010, for the 2011 presidential election, we saw how in some areas, in some grassroots areas, people had started having one or two mixed feelings as per his political ideology. You go to the West region, you go to the East region, and coming to 2018 presidential election, you have a country where the political atmosphere has different political terrains. You have different political tools that are being used. When political elections are approaching, you see tools that are being used, some sort of, I don't think I'm the only one who knows about it. All of us, even you journalists, you have, there's some sort of tribalism that is being put into the political terrain. There's some sort of hate speech that is bringing to the political terrain in order to play. But that's part of the political game in where we live in today. And during that period of time, we had some other opposition political parties that had some sort of intertribal connections with other political parties.
Collaboration
and this actually played with the collaboration between 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏𝗏 chairman and President Paul Biya, who is the president of Cameroon.
Okay.
So he had a lot to play when it comes to the mindset of the grassroots militants of the SDF. As per some executive members of the SDF, especially with the crisis that rampaged.
Professor 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, it's true that when the SDF was created in 1990, many do believe that the SDF was created to solve the Anglophone problem in 1990. In 2016, when the Anglophone crisis started, Frondi said no to secession. No to secession.
Yes.
Can we say that these are some of the failures that 𝗵𝗔𝗒𝗏𝗏 is actually having, given that from the very start the SDF was created to solve the Anglophone problem? But can we say Anglophones are not happy with Frondi?
If when the Frondi said no to secession,
I think most Cameroonians, be they Anglophone or Francophone,
We're very happy.
were happy. Because the majority of Cameroonians, be they English speaking or French speaking, believe that Cameroon must stay united.
Of course.
And the majority of Cameroonians also believe that the Anglophone problem should be solved. Right? Okay. So I don't see why Frundi or the Social Democratic Front should have become less popular because he said that. I told you that it is not because of that the Social Democratic Front has lost so many seats in parliament. It is because of the impossibility of running a campaign. It is the impossibility of organizing a very good election, in the northwest and the southwest. Okay, you understand? That's why I think that. But many people still love the Social Democratic Front, from what I see. When I talk to people in the northwest and in the southwest, some of them are my colleagues, they still love the Social Democratic Front because many people were attached to John Frundi. So the problem is, with Frundi gone, what is going to happen to the Social Democratic Front? That's the question now. We don't know. We don't know what is going to happen. Okay? Because the Social Democratic Front had a charismatic leader. The founding father was a charismatic leader. Everybody in the party loved him. But now, what is going to happen? Who is going to be the next chairman of the Social Democratic?
The next charismatic chairman
The next chairmatic chairman.
of the SDF.
That's the question.
It's coming up.
Of the Social Democratic Front. Is
Yes.
that
But
they
now
had a convention.
they had a
in
convention
July.
in July,
in
but
July.
I'm not sure that it will hold.
27, 28
Because
of July,
they need to organize the burial of John Frundi.
Fitting burial.
And then after that, they can think about...
But Mr. Tabi, maybe I should just add
Please,
something
please,
that,
please, please,
yes,
please,
1 minute.
yes.
That I thank God from that proposition, but I will still want to add that before 2016, with the Anglophone crisis, SDF had been at a dropping level.
From what?
So yes, from my perspective, if we have to look at the level of presidential election percentage, at the level of representative and local councils, at the level of parliamentary elections, they had been dropping at that time. It's true that the Anglophone crisis came to worsen a bad situation, but they were already dropping at that time.
I agree.
Yeah. Reverend Carl, we are talking of the SDF created in 19 by an Anglophone. Many Anglophones thought that it was a party for Anglophones to help solve the Anglophone problem. Can we say it's a disappointment today that this problem is not solved? And Frundi is going? Or is gone?
Mr. Clarkson, you've used a very touching statement. A party created by an Anglophone, which was believed to be a party for the Anglophones. What you've said is the truth. Many people did think this way. And it is equally the truth of the major problem we have in Cameroon. Because typically, parties should not be created in a country like ours for people coming from a particular area. Yes. And responding to your question, yes, I do think that some Cameroonians feel disappointed because of the understanding they had of the SDF, because of their perspective of why the SDF was created, and most probably because of the way they thought that the SDF would go about solving the Anglophone problem. So typically, it's not that the SDF has done nothing at all to contribute in solving the problem, but I would rather say that disgruntlement is at the level of the way the SDF or John Frundi, as the chairman of the party, went about solving the Anglophone problem. And this cannot be an answer which goes for all the Anglophone community, because evidently not all Anglophones are in support of a separation. And of course, not all of them are in support of...
We are not supporting separation.
Are in support of staying together. So regardless, it is hard to say like your question asks, if it's a disappointment for the Anglophones, it is a tricky question to answer, because it seems like you're giving a verdict on the thoughts and the mentality of the Anglophone community as a whole, which will be very faulty to make such a statement as in whether the Anglophone community is totally disappointed or they are totally in support. But I would say, as usual, that each person has their leadership style, which we could agree or disagree with. And there could be people who loved, there are people who loved the SDF's approach to the Anglophone crisis. And of course, there are people who were actually disappointed with the fact that the SDF decided to deny separation.
It's true that we still have something like 9 minutes. We shall be concluding the program tonight. But we are still talking John Frunze, we are talking the SDF. The SDF, after the 1992 presidential elections, many thought that after Frunze won 36%, many thought that maybe Frunze will be made prime minister, maybe some big wigs of the SDF will be appointed. But nobody was appointed from the SDF. Just of recent that an appointment came up with a senator. Can we say that this stand of John Frunze was a good one for Frunze and for the SDF?
Of refusing an appointment?
Yeah, refusing appointment.
I don't know if maybe they applied that they should.
Certainly negotiations.
Because I know that
negotiations went behind us.
The truth is that, Mr. Tani, we should not be emotional on politics. We have to work. We have to be on the ground and make sure that we galvanize militant, tell them our ideology. We should not just feel like sit behind and say that no, because I'm coming from a particular tribe, I expect that these people in this community will give me their support. I remember 2013, John Frunze went for the, I think, senatorial seat. He lost that seat from the same area where people believe that he was coming from.
Frunze never competed for a seat.
We can do our research. I'm accountable of the statement. I said,
no.
John Frunze lost the Senate. We can do research.
If Frunze were a candidate, I would have known about it.
That is okay. We will give now to the televiewers to maybe do the research.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember because Frunze was so well known.
That is the problem.
Frunze was so well known that
because
had he been a candidate,
we will never lose.
We will never lose. That is
no, it would have been known.
I would have known it.
That is why I'm saying that sometimes we judge politics based on emotion. You get the point, because on that perspective, it's but normal that if it was normal that he was supposed to win the seat, but it was rather unfortunate. So what I am saying is, the first ever senatorial election came in 2013, and in between that, he went in and placed his candidature. He lost that election in the Northwest.
Wow.
Okay, we shall be coming to that. Yes.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think that when we judge an individual based because he lost a seat, that may be way of reasoning. It doesn't suit me, because I believe that, take for example, the CPDM that won all the seats, does that make the party to be credible in the Northwest? Are you sure if things were fair, good electoral code?
We are not talking elections here. We are not talking electoral code.
We are asking about
we are not talking electoral code. We are not talking elections.
That is why I'm saying that if you are not to understand the way politics in this country work, sometimes you can judge somebody.
Okay.
This is the MRC. We don't have a representative at the parliament. But to be honest with you, with what I have seen on the ground, I know that if elections were to be fair, revision of the electoral code, I am confidence, and I know Cameroonians can agree with me that
the electoral code. We shall organize another debate for that. We shall organize another debate for the electoral code. Yes. Please, we are coming back to you. Okay. We still have 5 minutes. We are concluding. Yes, madam, you want to react?
Mr. Clarkson, about 2013, John Frunze wanting to be a senator and all of that. I think that is an information that it should be verified. We should not just, it can be verified. And I will insist again that there are people listening and watching us, you know, there are just some things that we should say them differently. As a person, and I think the other panelists, we didn't come to 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟 TV today to judge anybody. We are just trying to do an analysis of his parcours, of his political parcours. Some words can just give a meaning that can really be disruptive to the way people will perceive and understand. Please, we are not judging Nijon's life. We are just trying to do an analysis, which is an opinion which anyone can agree or disagree with. But it is typically, we are not judging a party, we are not condemning the SDF, we are not condemning Nijon Fundi of blessed memory today. And if he had failed to be a senator in 2013, it is to be verified.
Okay, anyway, we still have 5 minutes. We are concluding. Each speaker,
Everybody will
each speaker will have a minute to conclude. As you have the mic, as you have the floor, your last word before we go.
Thank you, Mr. Clarkson. So, conclusively, I would like to say that Nijon Fundi has made for himself a name that cannot be disputed. His name has been engraved in the sands of time of Cameroon. His footprints are there. The rest of us, of other political parties, we are walking on this path of democracy, of political opinion, of liberty of speech. It's not fully achieved, but he set it in. It is thanks to Nijon Fundi. And in as much as Cameroonians, home and abroad, can agree or disagree with his political approach and all, he was a hero. He failed, he succeeded, he did what he did and what he could do.
Can we also say he was a statesman?
He is a statesman. I'm saying he is because we will keep talking about him. You know, it's hard for me to talk about Nijon Fundi in the past. He is a statesman. Today, tomorrow, our other generations to come, we will mention his name, and he was a success to this nation.
A success story, yes. Nijon Fundi.
He was.
Mbaraoul, you have minutes as we are concluding.
It's rather unfortunate that Nijon Fundi who fought a fight, and I believe that we are coming towards that period of harvesting. But I believe that even if he wasn't able to see the fruit, I believe that the children will also take the opportunity, his family will take the opportunity to make sure that they also enjoyed what he fought for. And I'm still again to make the point clear, and to make the point clear to the televiewers, that Nijon Fundi went in for that election with 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗒, and at 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗒, that is when 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗒 won. 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗒 was not up. I mean,
so it was 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗒𝗒 who defeated
Nijon Fundi.
Okay, thank you. We are concluding. Your minute, Prince Will.
Of course, it's an honor for me to talk, to give my last respect to Nijon Fundi, the chairman. It's true that we saw Nijon Fundi in two faces, as Cameroonians would have said, and the Nijon Fundi who started at the point who actually pushed for the democracy, the freedom of speech we're enjoying today, which in collaboration with other actors, and the Nijon Fundi at the time where he was departing the stage, which most people think that he was not the same Nijon Fundi that was known before. That's the Nijon Fundi before and the Nijon Fundi after, which was somehow confirmed in the 2023 senatorial election with an appointment of a senator. However, Nijon Fundi remained one of the bedrocks of Cameroon that the history books will never forget. But we cannot go as per what Cameroonians do things, what some people think without being verified, because people are very sentimental. And I'm very happy that I got to meet with him over and over with some instances. And the last time, maybe 2 years, a day before he left this earth, I had that opportunity to tap from him, which I would think that I will have to continue, and other Cameroonians will have to continue from where he left, so that we can make Cameroon.
We shall always remember Fundi. We are concluding with you, Professor Edmond Bilowa. As we conclude, your last word before we go.
Say, Nijon Fundi will be missed. Thank you for the memories.
Thank you for the memories. He was a committed patriot, as the President of the Republic described, of course, Nijon Fundi. Pap Fundi is gone, 82 years. We say he is gone, but he will always be remembered in the minds of many, many, many Cameroonians, and for many, many more years again. It's true that we cannot talk politics from 1990 to 2023 without the name 𝗵𝗔𝗣𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗡. May the soul of 𝗵𝗔𝗓𝗓𝗔𝗡 continue to rest, or rest in perfect peace, and continue to rest, of course, in perfect peace. We want to believe that the OCs, the ninjas, and the others will take the leadership baton from where the charismatic leader actually left it. Well, we hope the best we wish the best for the SDF, and of course, it's on this note of hope that we are putting an end to this another edition of the Republican debate. Take another appointment same time next week on the same channel. Till then, we say, may the Almighty God continue to bless the Republic.
Sur quoi vous allez manger vos 2 œufs spaghettis? Certainement dans une assiette en porcelaine et des assiettes en porcelaine. Ici au comptoir Alino, il y en a à revendre. Mais ce n'est pas tout. Vous trouverez également tout ce dont vous avez besoin pour un couvert. Des robots mixeurs, air fryer, des fontaines à jus, des veilleuses et plusieurs autres accessoires de cuisine. Le comptoir Alino, c'est aussi des objets de décoration intérieure en porcelaine et florale. Retrouvez-nous à Yaoundé, au Fondi Mall, par 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗨𝗕𝗟𝗓 et profitez en ce moment de notre spécial promo. Commandez vos articles en ligne et obtenez jusqu'à 25% de réduction. Les comptoirs Alino, la qualité au petit prix.
People did not go in for the senatorial elections. They
Yeah.
voted for the poor performance of the indomitable Lions of Cameroon last night in Yaoundé. Accusing fingers have been pointed at 𝗥𝗘𝗣𝗓𝗟𝗓 and equally to Samuel Eto'o.